The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm Nisa.
And I guess CJ's busy doing
CJ doesn't want to be with us anymore.
He'll be on shortly. Well, it's Monday, and another productive weekend of political intrigue and ballot gate and all the other things. And so it's time to say a little something here about this whole ridiculousness about ballot gate and all the accusations. You know, I've got to give you it's my opinion, but obviously we have an issue here where we're doing everything but looking at what we have here. What we have is a mayor that's been in office, and now he's pulling a Will Flanagan. He's saying, look, I know I screwed up in my first 9 months, so give me another 2 years. Well, you've done even worse than Will Flanagan, because you've done more damage in nine months than Will Flanagan did in 5 years, because let's look at the attitude and the tone of your administration. Where do I begin? Lou Pacheco, $70,000 for 18 and a half hours. Joe Macy, $92,000. Rob Betlowski, a whole bunch of new tiers of government that are making a lot of money, no attempt to shrink government, increases in taxes, a position that these people deserve even more money, by the way. I will remind everyone of that in front of the city council meeting. So this is what we have here. We have a mayor with an indefensible record and people who support him attempting to do everything to divert attention away from the fact that he really hasn't done a really good job. And it is our duty as Americans to replace governments that don't work. So when we see all these things about, oh, you know, he's only 22, well, did we not vote for Ronald Reagan because he was in his 70s? Did we not vote for Bob Correa for mayor because he was in his 70s? That's kind of, you know, I know people that are 22 that are emotionally more mature than some people that I know that are 40 or 50. So the fact is, people should not be judged by, as Martin Luther King said, to paraphrase him, you should be judged by the content of your ability, not your age, regardless, whether it's at one end of the spectrum or the other. But with that being said, listen, this is what it gets down to, in my opinion. It's the bottom line. We've got to get rid of Sutter. And we are obligated as Americans to replace governments that don't work. Sutter has already proven he's not good for this city. In 9 months, what actions did he take? He closed the senior center. He closed the public library. Things that the people utilize, things that the poor people utilize and the elderly utilize. He threatened cuts in order to justify tax increases. Again, holding public safety as a pawn. So do we need to get rid of him? In my opinion, absolutely yes. His administration has made it clear he doesn't care about the poorer people in Fall River that are struggling to make all these tax burdens. We see we'll get into this later. And the reality is that, listen, I don't care if he took a picture. I don't care what he did. The fact is, you've got to put it on a scale. Those are the only two options. And it's always the lesser of two evils. My position is, we got to get rid of him. His administration will only do more damage with 2 years. And the fact is, we put a new man in, and if he doesn't do what we want him to do, we boot him out in 2 years, because maybe that's the message we should send to politicians, that if you don't work for the people, you're out of a job. This is what elections are supposed to be. Not, do I vote for somebody and get my cousin a job with DCM? You know, this is what elections are supposed to be. So that's my little rant of the day, and we'll get into some real stuff later. But Nisa, you want to comment on that?
That's just like any job. I mean, if I'm working in any office, factory, or any field, if I'm not doing my job, I think I'm at risk of losing it. I don't understand why it should be any different when you're in office for mayor or governor or any other type of leadership position. So.
Yeah, well, you know, it's kind of ironic that the American public chooses probably the most important job in the country, the people who run our cities and states and federal government. And that's basically the job you need the least amount of qualifications for. It's a popularity office, and as I said, no one would go to, no, you wouldn't take your car to a guy that can't fix your car, even if you like the guy as a neighbor.
Yes.
You wouldn't take your, you know, you wouldn't take your TV set to a guy that can't fix it, but we elect politicians who know absolutely nothing.
Well, so, I love my mother, and the other day she was trying to be nice and tell me to save money. She wanted to color my hair, and that's why I said no. It's like, no. You're not a stylist.
That's right, and with that hair, you've got to do it right.
No,
I mean, you've got great
like
looking hair.
You're not qualified.
Just like
I
me.
love you, Ma, but you're just not qualified.
See what happens when you let your mother do your hair? Say, CJ, you on yet?
I'm here. I'm just.
You just don't want to. All right. So what's our next issue is Tuesday night. We get our financial report.
Oh, are you talking? You wouldn't happen to be talking about the fact that we have a certified excess surplus revenue stream, are you? Of $5.9 million.
$5.9 million, and weren't we broke?
Yeah.
Shocking.
Weren't we broke? Didn't we need didn't we need that $10 per unit trash fee because we're broke?
Right. We're so broke that we have $8,069 extra in that particular account. Mm-hmm. So we were so broke we actually had surplus revenue. That means excess fees charged to the people of Fall River. Excess fees. All right?
Well, forgive me while I dig into my bag because I don't really.
So with the $8,069, does that mean we're gonna pay less in this this sanitation fee?
I know you're being facetious, Nisa, because that never happens. You know that. When have you ever seen it?
But there's money left. Look, it says right there.
I know, but but that money's gone.
Why do I still have to pay?
Because we have to. It's in our. And you know what the thing is? I'm looking at these numbers. It says 3.9 million from the general fund.
Right.
And I'm looking at this is the final report, by the way.
Yes, it is.
So you know I'm not making this up. This is the final report from Group Benefit Strategies on the city health care plan. Now, this is not how much extra they made from the citizens picking up the co-pays, but this is subject to even a little bit more because we have some money coming back from stop loss. $2.6 million under budget. So if we look at the 3.9 in the general fund, we look at more than almost, 2.6 million is far more than half. It's better than half, and that's not counting what they got out of the co-pays. So again, even our surpluses are gouged from the pockets of the working people and the people who work for the city. And I think it's a travesty. I'm at my wits' ends. I don't know. We have to call the feds in because, I mean, this proves, and every city council who approved this budget, when this is presented, should question the budget that was presented to them and why, when they knew. Listen, this revenue in the general, look. We get a monthly report. This is the annual, but we get a monthly report. And the health care fund was running under budget for the last 5 years, basically. They knew they were going to get money, and they always divert that money. And they knew they had this extra money, and I'm not sure if this is all of it, because there are a lot of unpaid salaries that aren't in here. I'm sure that a lot of that money, this is why we need, here it comes, you ready?
You're gonna swear. I know you're gonna
Ready,
swear.
you're ready. Forensic audit. Because I know there were many positions unfilled in this city. People retired,
The
they weren't
F
filled.
word.
Yep, that's it. And I'll tell you, this is, to me, it's unconscionable what we've done to the people of Fall River. And that budget was predicated on being broke, and they knew some of this money was coming in at the year's end. So I'm really, I want some questions to be asked.
Well, just for absolute clarity, all right? This is the budget that was approved last year, not this year. This was approved a year ago in June. That budget approval was 7-1, with one person being absent because Linda was out having her brain removed. I'm only kidding, bad joke. But, she was undergoing aneurysm repair, and I'm so glad that she actually survived and came through, in all her glory the way she usually does. And, Linda's a fighter. But Dan Rigo was the only person who voted against this.
Yeah, but now he's retracted that vote, so I can't even, we might as well have said it was 8-0, because he said he only voted for that budget because it wasn't transparent.
Right.
And guess what? He was right.
He's right. There's the proof.
He's right.
Yep. There's
Because,
the proof.
again, as I said, where's the money? A counselor who is now passed, but a counselor who sat in those seats for a very long time and had a lot of credibility, John Medeiros. Once when I made a presentation in front of the council when they had $6 million missing from the budget and the treasurer and the auditor couldn't account for it, and he said, I think Mr. Kamara's asking, where's the beef? Well, I want to know where all this money goes. I've asked this question, I don't know, 100 times maybe. Every time I go before the council and tell them about the health care running under budget, the money we're getting from other sources, and I say, where did it go? Where did the 14 firefighter salaries that were funded by the city go? We never get an answer. It's a mystery. As Lou Pacheco coined the term, what is it? Magic money?
Magic money.
Magic money. It appears. They rub the genie, and the money appears. So
That's how they worded it. Well, similar here on this document, the Department of Revenue has certified our surplus revenue free cash.
magic money,
parentheses.
free cash. It's free. That means they're free to do whatever they want with it. So that means they can give us the shaft the entire year, build up a surplus, and at the end of the year, they get to spend all the money that they rooked us out of in any way, shape, or form they like. It's free.
And
But
remember-
So being overtaxed,
Yeah,
that's pretty
exactly,
much it.
Yeah.
exactly.
And the kicker is this. We knew that the school department budget was not balanced. They balanced it on if the free cash, if the surplus revenue comes in, we'll transfer that money over. Luckily for them, it did come in at $3.93 million.
There's no luck involved, CJ. Come on, luck.
But $1.6 million is going to be transferred tomorrow at the city council meeting. And it's just very interesting to see, because remember we talk about the water enterprise, we got to have that storm water fee. You know the storm water fee we have to have for $35 a quarter? Now they're talking about raising that. Well, the water enterprise fund generated $643,679 in excess fees. Okay, I'm not going to call it excess revenue. I'm going to call it what it is. They took more money from you. All right?
So it's not free cash?
No, it's not.
Well,
somebody's paying for it.
Well, that's the problem, Nisa. You hit it right on the head. As you said, overtaxed. I see it. You've written it down. You've underlined it. We've been overtaxed again. The fact is, it is free for them, but not free for us. It's our money.
Right.
The fact is that, we have a surplus, which means it's not really a surplus. It's a surplus for them that now, because they've overtaxed us, they get rewarded, because now it gets certified as free cash, and they can do anything they want with it. So, see, therein lies the problem with government, that the more they give it to the taxpayer, the better off they are. Not the better off we are. The people in this city, again, every time you see these excesses, every time, this is not because they collected, what, $1 bazillion that's owed for back taxes to this city for over 20 years. I mean, we had that figure, CJ, somewhere. How many millions of dollars are owed to this city? No, we didn't get extra money by going out and getting the tax scofflaws. No, what we did was we gave them window contracts and fence contracts and stuff like that.
And remember, when you look, as I always say, follow the money. When you look at the campaign contributions to many of these political candidates, okay? And I'm going to pick one off the top of my head only because I just recently reviewed. Cliff Pont, he's running for city council. He's now being declared, the presumptive leader in the general election, or winner in the general election. But meanwhile, when you go down the list, I say, oh, look, hasn't paid property tax, hasn't paid property tax, hasn't paid property tax. And this is a guy that's going to go into the city council. He's a real estate developer, and he's going to allow the city to steal your money. Steal your money. He's going to vote for that.
Not his money. He's not paying his taxes.
That's right. They're not paying. His friends aren't paying taxes, so it doesn't matter. So remember that.
Didn't the leader of the city council race, our former city administrator, wasn't he arrears on taxes too?
Oh yes, a lot of.
Does my memory serve me correctly?
Yes, you are.
It seems like a common theme among these people that get hired for these big money jobs. It's they don't pay their bills. It's kind of like, I used to talk. I have a couple of friends who are contractors. They said the hardest people to get money from are rich people.
Yes.
They never pay their bills on time. He said, the poor people pay their bills. They scratch and scrimp and save and pay their bills. But the rich people, they're always in arrears or something. They're always running 90 days is as good as cash, 60 days is as good as cash. They're always trying to delay. They are procrastinators by nature. And you know something? These are the things we try to bring to you out there. Educate yourself about these candidates. Look at their records. Look at what they do.
Look at the numbers.
Exactly, and look at the numbers, and especially the numbers. You gotta, and it's, to me, it's duplicitous because the way they word things, it's never, as you said, plain talk, over taxation. All this money is created by surpluses.
Magic money.
Magic money. It's magic money, and they do it intentionally. As I said, what happens is if they don't collect millions of dollars for over 20 years from our taxes, if they don't collect a dime from fines for not using the bags, if they don't collect any of the money they anticipated in their projected budget, what do? The hell with those people. They're not paying their bills. We'll go back and tell the taxpayers to make up the difference.
That's it.
Magic money.
And this report was very clear. I got a copy of this report on the day it was released, actually, on the 24th, and I immediately posted it online. The wingnuts, and came out to defend it, to defend the city council, all 7 of them that approved this budget, okay? And they say, oh, well, no budget is perfect. There's always going to be some excesses somewhere and some shortfall somewhere. And how many times have we heard that, Chip? How many times have we heard, oh, well, we have to move money around because, this department has more money and this department needs more money, so we got to move money from one department to another.
Well, I thought we actually had an obligation to collect taxes from people. But we've got people that have been on, and look, the guy who did the windows owed what? Almost $1 million in taxes?
Yeah, and he still hasn't paid anything.
And he still hasn't paid it, that's right. So, listen, there are certain things the way the budget is projected. You have your property taxes. You have other taxes like excise tax and things like this. You have your sources of revenue for cash flow. And, obviously, there are other sources that are bonuses, like when the city used to not fill positions for almost a year. When somebody retired, they kept that position unfilled so they could keep the benefit money, the health care money, and the salaries till the end of the year, and then they'd fill a position and they'd roll that money over into free cash. Look, we know that budgets can't be perfect, but the thing is that how can we continue to burden the taxpayer and say we're broke when there's no attempt at all to secure money that's owed to this city by people who not only live in this city, who not only own property in this city, but many of them work for this city and are running for political office. What is wrong with that picture? What is wrong with that? Well, how can we ask the taxpayers who are scrimping and saving and are afraid to pay their tax bill late to make a choice between food or medication and their tax bill or their health care bill and their co-pays, while we allow people to not pay their property taxes, not pay their excise taxes? There are people that have been in arrears for months, for years. And like I said, it's bad enough when you don't go after the people who just try to disappear into the woodwork. But when you have people who are vying for city contracts, looking for city money, and if the city doesn't pay them, they'll be screaming bloody murder, and also run for public office, well, you know, there's explanations that have to be made to the taxpayer. The people who are living in a city that has the second lowest household income of any city in this Commonwealth, in a city that has 23%, 23.3 actually, people living below the poverty line. That's almost one quarter of the population in this community are living below the poverty line. And nobody seems to know that, especially this administration, which segues me back to my original thing is, let's look at what's going on here. Let's stop with the ballot gate and this guy is too. Look, let's look at the record of the guy we got in. Has he earned another 2 years? Mm-hmm. Or has the way he's run this city in a short 9 months proved that he's totally out of touch and he's done more destruction in 9 months than Flanagan did in 5 years? Matter of fact, I ran into somebody who supported the recall, and he gave me a great statement. He said, "Listen, I wish I had a crystal ball. If I would have known Sam Sutter was going to be the mayor and he was going to be this kind of mayor, I wouldn't have supported the recall. I would have said, screw it. Let Flanagan stay in for another year and let's boot him out with regular candidates in a regular election." And you know something? You might have a point.
You know, Chip, we can never really get exactly what we think we're going to get. And a lot of people, and I've spoken to a few of them, that were staunch supporters of the special election, the recall. And they say a lot of the same thing. You know, sometimes what you get is not what you expect. You know, but the problem is that I firmly believe, and I will firmly state over and over again, that Fall River has been, and always will be their own worst enemy, because they can't get out of their own way.
Well, that's a good point you're making there, because, I mean, with the numbers and how obvious it is that this mayor is abusing the system, why aren't more people doing their research? You know, why aren't more people angry about the fact that this is our money? This is our money, and the people of Fall River, I don't understand why they're not doing their research. They think this is just, you know, we're just over here talking to talk, but that's the thing. Just educate yourselves and just realize that they're working for us.
You're right, and you know, but unfortunately, public apathy is something. But you know, I've got to give Fall River a little bit of credit here. You know, we were the first city in the history of the state to have a recall, a successful recall, and a recall. It seems as though, based on the primary election, people are looking to change, and that's where I say, listen, we can complain about the job they're doing, but you know, as a great document once said, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary, and then it goes on to tell you that it's our duty. It's our duty to change a government that's not working. It didn't say it's Virginia's. It's the state of Virginia's job to straighten out Fall River, Massachusetts. It says that the people who live in this country have an obligation to change any government that is not working for the people. It mandates it. It requires it. And people love to point to the Constitution, and they love to talk about the Declaration of Independence. But they should take time to read it and digest it and see what it actually says. It says that we created a nation that is supposed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. And it's only that nation if the people participate in government.
Right.
You can't have a government of the people when they're sitting home drinking a wine cooler instead of going to the polls.
Keeping up with the Kardashians.
You can't, watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians or what's his name, Caitlyn picking a dress.
Oh my
And
goodness.
the guy I ran into, but he did vote, that was walking around BCC track, and I said, he started talking politics. I said, did you vote today? He went, oh, I was out of town. I said, well, the polls are still open. Why didn't the first place you should have stopped on the way in? This is what we've got to do, people. And you know something? It's up to us, and we've got a beginning. We began this. Let's make Fall River, rather than the place to poke fun at in the Commonwealth and throughout this country. Let's make it a place where people say, wow, those people, they had a recall election. Now they got rid of a mayor after 9 months. They've changed the council. They've done things. Let's do this. If somebody has earned your vote, if they've done a good job, you keep them in. If they don't, you get rid of them. This is why all this talk about why we shouldn't vote for this because of Ballotgate is basically a deflection of the basic fact. Look at what this man has done as mayor. And I will tell you, if you're happy with all the people he put on, with all the tax increases, and with the fact that we've got this excess money, and they knew it was coming, but they misrepresented what happened, and they're going to justify it, well, vote for them. Vote for the incumbents. Vote for the mayor. If you think you're better off now than you were 9 months ago, if you went to that senior citizen downtown, he reopened it under pressure because he knows he's so unpopular now. But the fact is, listen, when all is said and done, it doesn't matter who's sitting in those seats. The only way they'll do their job is because of fear of not being reelected and in their own self-interest. And when they finally understand, and when the people of the city finally rise up and say, if you don't do what we want you to do, you're gone, then we will have good government. Because this government was not created for politicians, it was created for the people. But in order for it to be for the people have to actually vote. This is what this country was based on. You can't sit down and point your finger and talk about what a crappy government we got when you never get off your butt and vote. So the fact is, in order for this government to be, we got to do what our ancestors did. When they put down their plows, put down their pens, picked up a rifle, and fought the British. So stay angry, like me.
Thank you for watching, guys.